Well, good afternoon. We're here with Lori Heller, Chief Experience Officer at Tower Bank. Welcome. Good to
Thank you,
have
sir.
you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be
So,
here.
so our topic today is just talking about interactive teller machines, and you're going to share a little bit of your journey with the bank on how you ended up deploying those and what the experience has been like. So I really appreciate your expertise. I
Yeah,
know from your
great.
background, you've had the opportunity to not only do that for your own bank, but consult with a number of other organizations on how to do that really well. And so you've been able to,
That's right.
pre-COVID, give actual on-site, demonstrations of what you've done. And so I'm really grateful that we get a chance to just pick your brain for a little while and learn a little
Sure.
bit about what that experience is like. So maybe just as a quick little intro, tell us what it means to be a chief experience officer. What is that like?
Sure. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to spend some time with you today and talk about this because it is a really exciting thing for us at Tower, and hopefully we'll be able to help some other folks too. So being a chief experience officer is really a cool job because any touch point that we have with the bank, whether it be face to face, over the phone, through our digital channels, through the interactive teller machines, creates an experience for our customers and our prospects. And so all of those things is kind of under my umbrella, and we want to make sure that all of that is as positive an experience, and we want to exceed expectations for our customers. So that's kind of uh, there's a lot of different things that fall under that, so it makes it a little bit more exciting, but it's a pretty important job for the bank.
One of the things I think about is that customer experience. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you think about deploying a new technology, especially something that is kind of device oriented, like an interactive teller machine, you wonder about what the experience is going to be like. And so when you did this, you actually deployed the first interactive teller machine in the state of Tennessee. So
Yeah.
you have the history, and you've got some really neat stats that we're going to talk about, but then you didn't. You were doing something very entrepreneurial, something new. So you had to
Mhm.
build kind of a business case around,
Right.
we're going to do this. It's a major investment. It's a major strategic decision. What are some
Mhm.
of the things that, as you did this, were important, and then even since then that you've learned are really important for an organization to think about?
Oh gosh. So when it first started, it came out of a strategic planning retreat for the board of directors.
Hmm.
And we were saying, okay, we want to engage with some more technology. We want to become more efficient as
Mhm.
a bank. And so we did a little research, and the interactive teller machines surfaced as a direction that we needed to go. And we are in Middle Tennessee, rural Tennessee, and we're like, how
Right.
are our customers going to accept this technology? How do we introduce it to them? So we spent a lot of time from a leadership standpoint discussing how to get our employees to buy into it, how to get our customers to buy into it. And it was a very, very planned rollout that we did. So, um, and it has worked. So
Hmm.
with regards to the employees, one of the things that we wanted to make sure was that the employees understood that this technology was not taking their jobs.
Yeah,
That was
that's
Yeah, that
yeah.
was something that was really important to all of us on senior management.
Mhm.
And if the employees were going to accept it and then talk to their customers about it, I will tell you that the customers don't know who I am. They know who their tellers
Hmm.
are. The tellers are the bank to them. And if the tellers that they have used for the last 10 or 15 years believe in it and trust it, and they give that information to the customers, and the customers will believe in it and trust it and use it. So we had a big plan laid out with that as to how to get that rollout successful.
Did you have some, because in every team dynamic, there's a little bit of kind of like early adapters and those that take longer. Did you have some people that kind of emerged as champions earlier on, or how did you go through that process of kind of bringing people along through the
Oh
chain?
gosh, yeah. So I will, Nancy. Nancy had been with the bank since the beginning of time,
Hmm.
and everybody loves Nancy.
Hmm.
Everybody loves Nancy. And she has such a good spirit, and she was so accepting of this. And um, she was an older person, and she would she's like, I'm going to try it. I
Yeah.
think I can do it. And then once we got her on board and she was talking to her customers, her favorite thing to say was, honey, if I can do this, you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then the customers were like, okay, then they would
Nice.
trust it and they would be able to do it. So she definitely stood out on the front end. And she kind of led some of the other people that maybe weren't as employees that were maybe a little bit more resistant,
Sure.
and
Sure.
she encouraged them to jump on board too. So it
So
was really,
step one, find your Nancy inside your team.
yes,
Sounds
find
like
your
find the
Nancy.
person that
That's
is going to be
exactly
that
right.
advocate. Yeah.
Find your Nancy, because I'm telling you, if the employees do not believe in it, it will fail.
Right.
No matter
Right.
how much research you do on it, no matter how much money you spend on marketing, makes no difference. If your employees don't believe in it, it will fail. So
It's a
you've got
great
to get
insight.
them on board with it in an honest and sincere and transparent way, and have them teach your customers
Right.
and give that trust to them that they're going to be able to do this.
One of the things I know that you have is a really strong team that actually sits behind those interactive tellers. And you've talked a little bit about kind of like getting that team up, but then also having the people that aren't on that team, the actual in-person tellers, kind of the support that has to come there. Can you
Right.
talk about how you built that and what that dynamic looks like? That kind of internal team that's right there
Yeah.
on the interactive tellers, but then also the branch team.
So with our video bankers, we have them housed in what we call the Experience Center. And
Sure.
in the Experience Center, we wanted to create a different culture, if you will, a Google-ish
Huh,
type
neat.
culture.
Yeah.
And, we're just going to have fun. We're going to be a little bit more relaxed. We're going to be able to just, let our hair down a little bit.
Sure.
And that culture um, trans is able to go through that digital channel for the customer and to deliver that experience on the customer side, to where it was really a kind of a cool, neat, fun way to do your banking. But then on the retail side, on the traditional teller side, when we were able to get the trust and the support to their customers to give the video bankers a try,
Mm-hmm.
it worked together as a team.
Hmm.
And you've got when you were getting the front facing support from retail and delivering it over to the video bankers, working together, that's just really created to the customer uptake that we're experiencing now is really strong because of
Well,
that.
and I saw that. I mean, it sounds like pre-COVID, something like 40% of your
Yep.
transactions, which is
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, so we were consistently doing right at about 40% of the transactions for the entire bank through the interactive teller machines. And I was like, okay, my goal is going to be 50%. And I was
Sure.
talking to our vendor about that, and he was like, well, okay, that's pretty lofty
Sure.
goal, but you go for it. And I didn't know that if that was or wasn't. And
Right.
then um, once COVID hit, of course, and we were doing almost 100% of the
Wow.
transactions through the video bankers. We did solicit the help from some of our traditional tellers to come in,
Oh,
and we had to
sure.
train them on the fly.
Sure. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's a different world. I mean, you
Sure.
think you've been a teller for 10 years and you know how to do it, but working on the video banker side is a little bit different. But we were doing about 100% of the transactions.
Wow.
And then as the branches started opening, there was a shift back by some of the customers, but I will tell you, it's been consistently holding. Let's see, we opened our branches back up at the week of May the 4th.
Hmm.
And here it is the end of September, and we're still doing roughly about 48,
Wow.
49% of the
Wow.
transactions. So, I mean, it's still pretty strong. And one of the things that was so exciting when our customers, they were, I don't want to say forced, but they didn't really have another
Right.
choice to get their banking done when they went through the interactive teller machines. They would say to our tellers, our video bankers, if I would have known it was this easy, I would have been doing this a long time ago.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
they just never had the reason or the thought to give it a try. But once they did give it a try, then they're sticking with it. And it was just it when the video bankers would call me and they say, I got another one. I got another one that said that,
Sure.
they didn't know it was going to be this easy. So it's a lot. It's that part of it was exciting for them as well.
Sure, those wins. That makes a big
Oh yeah,
difference.
gosh, yes.
So, have you noticed that there's really kind of certain categories of transactions that really go through that channel, or is it pretty well spread? I mean, with an interactive teller machine, you can do all sorts of transactions. So, do you
Sure.
see a difference there at all in how they're adopted?
No, I mean, we're doing cash and check deposits, cash withdrawals. We also do utility payments for some of
Wow.
our local utility
Hmm.
companies. We take insurance payments for our tower insurance company,
Wow.
and of course, loan payments and draws on lines of credit. Pretty much anything that you can do at the traditional teller line, we can do through the interactive teller machine. So, in terms of transaction types, I would say it's all across the board, but just like what you would see in the traditional deposits and withdrawals are your most common, but we can do anything.
What did it take to get to that 40% number? I mean, that was a pretty good threshold to get there. What did it take as far as like customer education, marketing? So once you got
Yeah,
your team on board, now you have your customer base.
right.
And as you mentioned, you had some concerns about that earlier on to see if people would
Sure.
adopt it. What did you have to do to get to that level?
So we wanted to have fun again. So, when we had this strategic thought for deployment, which location are we going to deploy first, second, third, and so on, and the branch people where the machine was deployed, we started them on a path of getting their customer base excited before the machine was even there. They started talking about it. We had t-shirts, we had banners,
Wow.
and we were like, getting the people excited about it, and it's not even there yet. And
Right.
then once it was there, then we're like, okay, we're going to have all this fun, and we're going to incent people to use the machines. And we
Got it.
had uh, we gave out biscuits and coffee. We stood out at the machine for like, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks, somebody
Wow.
physically there. We're like,
Wow.
come on up, and let me
Yeah.
just, this is interesting, is that I tried to do it for a while. And like I said, these people don't know me. So they didn't
Sure.
trust me,
Right.
right?
Right.
But when, for example, Nancy was standing outside, she's got her winter coat on and she's, coaxing people to come up, they were all about it. And then if we were going to give them a biscuit and a cup of coffee, they're like, yeah, we'll try it. And
Right.
they were like, the thing that was so fun was when we were showing them how to use it, and we would walk them through the process, and then the customer would look at you and say, that's it? And we're like,
Yeah.
yep, that's it. And they're like, that is so cool. I had no idea it was that easy. And so then they were hooked. And the thing that would, this is so weird, is brought a tear to my eye, is
Huh.
we had a business customer who was really gruff about it. He was like, he was not happy about it. He didn't
Hmm.
want to do it. He's like, we don't need to have this kind of stuff. We showed him how to do it. We won him over. The next week, he came back with 2 or 3 of his employees, and he was training them how to use it to cash their
Wow.
payroll check. I was
Wow.
like, oh,
And
it was
you got
amazing.
them, right?
It was amazing.
Yeah,
Yes, when he
yeah.
was training his own people how to use
Right.
it, I was like, this is so cool. And I just sat there and I just watched him, and it was great. So, yeah, so all the fun and excitement that we had to get people excited about using it. And then, of course, the experience itself with the video bankers being fun and energetic, and just giving that great delivery through that digital channel. And then if they get a lottery ticket, we gave away scratch off tickets too one time.
Nice. Nice.
So, so that was fun.
Right.
Yeah, so just that kind of stuff is what, and then another thing that was really fun was we started rolling them out throughout our market, some of our customers would cross-pollinate into different markets, and
Sure.
this branch would have it, but their traditional branch did not have it yet. And
Sure.
so they would say, when are we going to get ours?
Oh yeah.
How much longer do we have to wait? And so
Wow.
that was so exciting because the customers were kind of giving that forward momentum and getting excited about when
Right.
their branch was going to get it. So
You created kind of a culture of celebration, which is
yeah, it was
interesting because
fun.
it's so easy when you're deploying technology like this to be very focused on the machinery, and it matters. You need to have your equipment that you can depend on, partners to service those that matter. All of the background logistics are critical, and yet ultimately the success and failure comes down to people and how
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
kind of
And
like
that
interact or
experience.
perceive it, that experience. And
Yep,
so
that
starting
experience is
there
key.
is a big deal. And I love how you describe your video bankers, because it sounds like they're that Google type feeling is like a anti call center, right? It's like the
Oh,
opposite of what
yes,
it's this, we're going to
absolutely.
actually, and I love that. And what's clear is that kind of grew its way across to your branches and then to your customer base,
Right,
as
right.
illustrated by that really great story.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it always is really about people, and to not overlook that seems like a really important part of
And
this
one
process.
thing that we have found is, even with the technology, as wonderful as it is, sometimes it doesn't work.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't, and it's
Right.
because it's a machine, and sometimes
Right.
something happens and it doesn't work. But I can promise you, if the customer has had a good experience up to that point, they're very forgiving,
Sure.
very tolerant of the machine not working today because
Sure.
of whatever the reason. But if they had not received and did not have that base of a good experience and the machine failed, then they're like, forget it, this is stupid, and I'm not doing
Right.
this anymore. So then you've kind of lost that credibility
It's
that
like
way. So,
self-fulfilling a little
oh,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What about as you were kind of going through your selection process and you picked a partner with NCR to do this, what was important to you in selecting the technology? It's
Sure. So when uh, several of us from senior management were trying to decide what we wanted to use, which company did we want to use, we decided we needed best in breed. That's where we were going to go. And if we were going to jump in, we're going to jump in with both feet, and we're going to get the best of breed to support us. And at that time, which I believe is still this, I would say the same thing now, was NCR. And NCR had a lot of experience. They had the good basis of technology and the support. And we wanted to also get a vendor that would be able to act as a liaison between us and NCR.
sure.
So NCR then suggested a vendor that we are currently using, which is the crucial to the success of your program too, is to having a
Yeah.
solid vendor to help you. Um, I didn't speak the technology language.
Sure.
I knew what I wanted, but I
Right.
didn't know how to speak the language. And so with our vendor, um, they were able to interpret what I wanted over to NCR in the correct language where they would know what I was talking about. And between the three of us, we were able to come up with a great plan, and it worked.
Yeah. How did that go? Were there bumps in the road? Were there things you would do differently? Getting
Well,
machines up, getting things set up.
well, we've learned a lot.
Sure.
We have learned a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a great learning curve with this,
Right.
and this is something, from the consulting part of it, that I would love to be able to help other banks to where they would be able to benefit from my mistakes, so
Right.
they would not
Sure.
have to make them again.
Sure.
But yeah, we've learned a lot, and how to set up the experience center, how to set up the video itself, hiring. We learned what was good and what wasn't as good,
Sure.
and but in terms of the relationship with the vendor and the rollout of the technology, um, I guess I can't really think of anything specific that I would want to do differently. I know a lot more now than I did at the time. I was going in with blind faith at the time,
Right.
but
Right.
right now, yeah. So I think it was a hard experience, but it was a good experience.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing what you've learned. I know that you have a consulting practice that works with financial institutions to help them through
Yeah.
this. And so I'd love to have people talk to you more about that if they're really serious. I know that you're a
Sure.
tremendous resource for that. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
making yourself available. Is there any parting thoughts that people should keep in mind as they kind of get into this, if you could go back and talk to yourself right before you got started, what are some things that would be good to keep
Don't
in
give
mind?
up. Don't give up.
Okay.
Because I've said, I'm very passionate about the interactive teller machines and my video bankers and my experience center, and but it's not easy,
Sure.
and there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it is so well worth it. And so just keep your head up and don't give up.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was our conversation with Lori Heller, Chief Experience Officer at Tower Bank, and really a pleasure to speak with you today.
Great. Thank you so much. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.